The State Department has issued a worldwide alert for Americans traveling overseas. The alert reads, in part, due to the potential for terrorist attacks, demonstrations, or violent actions against U.S. citizens and interests, the Department of State advises U.S. citizens overseas to exercise increased caution. Sources tell CBS News the warning is a result of recent intelligence citing threats by ISIS against Pride events in parts of Europe. Pride Month begins in June. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now. So, Sam, how significant is this warning?
Well, Lana, the State Department's priority overseas is protecting Americans. The State Department has various ways to publicly warn Americans overseas about risks. They have travel advisories for particular countries, and they have this worldwide caution security alert system when there are more dispersed threats. Typically, these alerts do mean that there is specific or credible intelligence about a specific threat stream. We know that the alert issued on Friday references advising Americans to avoid places frequented by tourists and to stay alert when participating in Pride Month events around the world. Now, this State Department alert follows a public safety announcement by the FBI and DHS earlier this week that warned about the threat of foreign terrorist organization-inspired attacks here in the homeland. The FBI DHS alert noted the historical record of foreign terrorist organizations like ISIS in inspiring attacks and encouraging supporters globally to attack LGBTQI events. Behind the scenes, I would imagine that there is more specific operational preparedness being done to protect Pride events and to get more granular detail about where there may be specific and credible intelligence related to this threat stream.
Sam, let's turn to Capitol Hill because 3 top security officials testified before the Senate this week on threats ahead of the 2024 election. What are your takeaways?
Well, there are really 2 main messages coming out of this testimony on election security. First, the threat environment is increasingly challenging. And second, that election preparedness is stronger than ever. Officials testified about 3 particular threat vectors: cyberspace, foreign influence or disinformation, and physical security risks. They did name check Russia, China, and Iran as the most significant state-sponsored threats to our elections. But earlier in the week, the Department of Justice, a task force there, briefed about physical security threats to election infrastructure and officials posed by Americans. During the hearing on Capitol Hill, officials mentioned that AI and emerging technologies are key factors when we consider the complexity of the threat environment. And there was one source of contention as members of Congress grilled administration officials about what the notification process is if disinformation affecting the election is uncovered. Many members of Congress seem dissatisfied with the administration's response, so I expect further discussion on that point.
Sam, in the Middle East, the first round of aid is being delivered to Gaza from the newly constructed floating pier. What are some of the challenges moving forward?
Well, Lana, let's remember this pier was first referenced by President Biden during his State of the Union many months ago. It took several months to construct and become operational. And there's already criticism that this pier is going to provide aid that is just a drop in the bucket when it comes to what starving civilians in Gaza need to eat. The medical equipment, fuel, hygienic supplies, and other items are in dire need on the ground in Gaza. Now, the United States and its partners has said that this maritime pier, the aid delivered via this pier, is meant to complement aid coming in through other means, whether it's aerial drops or through land crossings. Notably, key land crossings largely remain closed at this juncture. I should note, from a security standpoint, there are a lot of risks with this pier. Israel is inspecting goods when they're loaded in Cyprus, but the causeway, the pier, the port itself in Gaza, and even just the trucks with aid are vulnerable from a security perspective. The White House has said there are no U.S. troops on the ground in Gaza, but there are 2 naval carriers in the Mediterranean that could come to provide additional security if needed.
Sam, we're officially out of time, but I really want to ask you about the Treasury Department this week sanctioning 2 commanders of the Sudanese paramilitary group RSF. Talk to us about the ongoing war in Sudan and something about the humanitarian situation there.
Well, the civil war in Sudan has been ongoing for over a year. About half the population there is in dire need of humanitarian assistance, according to the UN. That's about 25 million people on it and 14 million children. There are serious concerns about ethnically motivated violence in Sudan, particularly in Darfur, which, as you know, saw genocide about 20 years ago in which hundreds of thousands of people were killed. We also know that foreign countries like Russia are supporting one of the warring groups there, the paramilitary group known as the RSF. So there are urgent pleas for humanitarian assistance, and there are a lot of concerns about further ethnically motivated violence in Sudan.
Yeah, all right. Sam Vinograd, thank you.
Thanks.